Hi guys, so I actually spent many nights sleeping in this very car park. I first did it when I moved to this town. I didn't really have anywhere else to stay. I didn't have that much money. I was saving to buy a house. So the cheapest thing to do, get my £400 Honda Civic at the time, sleep in that until I've got enough money for a deposit for a house. That was the plan, and we succeeded. This year, this summer, I'm hoping to do some traveling in this car. Not so much, not saving for a deposit for a house now, just as a way of travel touring, a bit like people do in, VW campers, caravans, but just do it really cheap, really minimal, in a cheap another £400, this time a Mark 1 Ford Focus. This is the ideal car for like stealth car camping. No one really looks at this car, right? It's getting a little bit of a banger now. People look at it maybe and think, well, it's a bit cheap, potentially could be abandoned, but Mark 1 Ford Focuses are still everywhere. Drive down the road, you see 2 or 3 of them going past the other way. So it doesn't raise anybody's suspicions. When people try and camp in like VW Transporters or Mercedes vans, it looks obvious. People notice those. Something like this, you can pull up in a car park. Very few people are going to suspect you are sleeping in it. So that's what I did in this very car park here. Going forward this summer, I'm hoping to do more interesting places, Dartmoor, Peak District, Lake District, stuff like that. This is a really good car for it, and obviously it's hatchback. Now, if you had no other choice, you can use something like a saloon car, 5 Series BMW, but they're not optimal. The hatchback is the perfect design. You can get in and out of it easily. The seats fold flat, and you get quite a flat base to sleep on. You could probably do something like 5 Series BMW. Some of those cars, the boot and the cabin is actually separated by metal. Sometimes it is, sometimes it isn't. But I mean, that's nothing an angle grinder can't solve. But this is the optimal car. This or an Estate. This car has the tinted windows. I haven't tinted these enough. Should have gone for a limo tint. You can still see through this basically, so I'll probably upgrade the tint to limo. But besides that, this is the perfect car. Let's jump inside and see how I do it. So this is the back of the car. This is where the magic happens. I've already removed the headrests because in most hatchbacks, when the headrests are on, you can't fully get the seat flat. So those are off. That means it's a quick deployment to basically set up your sleeping area. This isn't a full rundown of everything that I'll be carrying with me. This is kind of a first test and adjust that I'll be using for this car. So I haven't got food and water. Water I recommend just buying from a supermarket pretty much on a daily basis. If you go somewhere like Tesco, everyday value water is about 17 pence for 2 litres. So calculate how much water you'll need a day. Probably 2 litres for drinking, maybe some for cooking, maybe some for washing up. But this is just a simple setup of the base kit you'll need to get started, and from there, depending on how much you eat at takeaways, depending if you use laundrettes, how much clothes you'll need to take with you, etc. This is just a brief overview of what I learned sleeping in a car, and if you're looking at doing it, what you can do too. So when I actually originally did it a few years ago, I was really hard on myself. I didn't have a gas cooker. I didn't even have like a fold-in roll mat to make it more comfortable. I was all just about saving as much money as possible, and it was simple as that. But this summer, I'm doing it for recreation. I'm doing it for leisure, so I want it to be a bit more enjoyable, like how it is like when I go camping, right? So this is the Decathlon fold-in roll mat. Now, in most hatchbacks, you kind of need to move at a diagonal angle to sleep. So roll mat out. Then I've got a pillow for the top, put that in place there, and sleeping bag, probably just go with the warmest one you can. This one isn't overly warm. When I was doing it a few years ago, I was using a British Army issue bouncing bomb, which is 4 season sleeping bag, rated to pretty cold. I think just go with the warmest one you can. You always want to be a little bit too warm than a little bit too cold in a car. Cold January, February nights aren't nice. When it's icy outside, it gets icy inside as well because you're breathing out moisture. The glass is obviously very cold. So you get up in the morning, not only do you have to scrape the outside of the car, you got to scrape the inside as well. So make it as comfortable as you can. It's going to be cold, it's probably going to be damp as well in the winter time, especially in UK climate. So a warm sleeping bag really is going to make it a lot more enjoyable. So I'm 5'10". The taller you are, you're probably going to want to lean towards something like a Volvo Estate over a hatchback. I can just about squeeze in this in a diagonal fashion. For cooking and food, drinks, a little box like this just to keep everything tidy. My policy is pretty much pack everything away in the morning, ready for the next night. It's a small area, you don't want to get it messy, you want it to be as clean and efficient as possible. So kettle, the same one I use for camping and my other adventures. Stainless steel cup in this case. Gas burner, obviously don't use it inside of the car for obvious reasons. Have a little area outside where you do your cooking and boiling water. Just a few various saucepans, set of cutlery, maybe 2, and just a few plates. And that all just tucks away in this, so when you pack up in the morning, it's nice and simple and easy to do. You probably want another little box where you keep in food. At the time when I was spending my nights in the car, I was vegan. That worked very well. Storing meat, storing milk and animal products, although I eat those now, they turn quite quickly, and if you eat off meat, off milk, it can make you very sick. So with the plant-based stuff, there's a lot to be said for that in areas where refrigeration isn't the easiest. I mean, I do have the cool box, and I've got a few of these. If you do have access to a freezer, like if you work somewhere or even on the first day, freeze a few of these up, put them in there, and you'll be able to get, you know, a good solid few days of the cool box being cold. After that, you can still potentially buy things like frozen peas or even frozen bags of ice at the supermarket. So when you buy the stuff that needs to go in the cool box, I mean, even if it's £1 for a bag of ice, one of those each time you go shopping, I mean, this is still a lot cheaper than staying in a bed and breakfast, staying on a legit campsite. So you have to just factor in paying for water, paying for ice cubes. Yeah, maybe once in a while you probably have to throw the food away that you haven't eaten after a day or two because it might start warming up. But that's pretty much my setup. It's not overly complicated. Again, you'll have to test and adjust this for yourself in terms of, are you going to be washing plates or are you going to be using disposable plates? How much clothes you need to take? Will you be using the laundrette? In that case, maybe you don't need to take a huge amount of clothes with you. If you're only wearing clothes once and then changing them in a fresh set each day, you're probably going to need quite a big holdall with clothes for that. So if it's a week, 2 weeks, factor that in. Food, the vegan stuff does work well. If not, stopping at a supermarket each day. So that's the overview of living in a car. So that's a introduction to the setup that I'll be using this summer, hopefully for getting away down the beach, maybe into the mountains, a few little adventures. A few other little tips I'd probably recommend is obviously a good USB cigarette lighter charger, also a long lead for your phone. So I mean, this car has cigarette lighters in the back as well, so that is good, but maybe one of those 3-meter leads for your phone. That way, wherever you are, like if you're in the back, if you need to move to the front, you're not restricted by a very small lead. Entertainment, I mean, I try and stay off my phone, so maybe like a secondary tablet or laptop you use specifically for entertainment, like watching YouTube, whatever you want to watch, rather than just being always on the phone. It's a little bit hard on the brain. Books, stuff to keep you entertained. If you are wintertime, autumn, or even early spring, it does get cold, so a good flask is good, just because you're going to basically be in a metal box for a long period of time. It's having a hot drink, hot snacks. The gas burner, again, if you can make like a warm meal in the evening, it definitely helps if the night ahead of you is going to be quite cold. Such as a few of my tips. I mean, I did this for a significant amount of time, several months, not 7 days a week, but often 4 or 5 nights a week I'd be in the car. And once your system's down, once you've got a few creature comforts, it's actually really not too bad. So I'm looking forward to the summer, get away in the old camper van Ford Focus. A few adventures ahead of us. Thanks for watching this video, guys. Let me know in the comments, have you done this yourself? It's really not too bad. And look forward to the future adventures, and I'll see you in a future video.